Peace. This is Hip Hop Album Review Part 15. Without further ado, here's the first album for today's review. Is EPMD's Business Never Personal. Released in 1992, this is their fourth album. In my opinion, this is their best album. In my opinion, with this album, they were kind of going more. They went for a more hardcore approach to the albums. Much as same thing with Business Never Personal. That one that was released in 1990, another dope album by them too. Anything EPMD was dope. So, but the thing with this album is actually out of print. This is the only album in their discography that's out of print, actually. Singles this album was known for are Crossover, self-explanatory, talk about where, just telling people, talking about artists that cross over to the mainstream to get mainstream appeal. And that song is so relevant today. I mean, this album came out in 92, and some of my favorite MCs had crossover, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And Headbanger, ironically, that song Headbanger, Ruff Ryders used the same sample as Headbanger, which also uses the sample for Parliament sample actually, and Ruff Ryders ironically had used that same sample as EPMD's Headbanger. The thing with this album, they was going through they had a lot of financial issues, money problems and stuff like that. And that same year, Paris Smith had his house broken into, a home invasion, and there were speculations that Eric Sermon had something to do with the home invasion of Paris Smith's house, and which led to the breakup of EPMD, unfortunately. And then started in like '93, all the way up to like 1996, both members of EPMD were releasing solo albums. By then Eric Sermon started Def Squad, which consisted of Redman, Keith Murray, Jamal, and I believe that's it. And Paris Smith still had Hit Squad, because before Def Squad it was Hit Squad, and Hit Squad consisted of K Solo, Redman, EPMD, DOS Effects, Top Quality, people like that. But since they broke up, PMD, Paris Smith, kept the Hit Squad emblem, while Eric Sermon started Def Squad, and then Hit Squad consisted of Paris Smith himself, of course, K Solo, DOS Effects, Top Quality, and I believe there was a group called Knuckleheads, if I'm not mistaken, from Long Island too as well. But they only came out with one album or something like that. I don't think that it did well, whatever. But anyways, back to the album. Like I said, this album, is out of print. This album, they went for a more hardcore vibe to the album and stuff like that. Definitely a must-have if you're complete as an EPMD, or if you're a fan of EPMD, or if you're a fan of early 90s hip-hop, boom bap, like I am, must have in your collection. Business Never Personal, EPMD, released in 1992. Go copy if you can find it. Then the next album is Ruff Ryders' Ride or Die Volume 1, released in 1999. You guys should know who Ruff Ryders are. They got started by D and Y, who are uncles of Swiss Beats. And Ruff Ryders consisted of members of, DMX, LOX, Swiss Beats himself, of course, Eve, Dragon, Cassidy, Cassidy like that, you know what I mean? Although Cassidy didn't really sing. Hold up. Although Cassidy didn't really get up start, he didn't join Ruff Ryders until 2001 for their first album. Yeah, so Cassidy, his first appearance was on the third installment of Rough Ryders Volume 3. And then, you know, he got to start from there and stuff like that. But anyways, back to the album. Singles this album is known for are, ironically, the first 3 tracks of the album, which are Ride or Die, like I said before. They used the same sample as Headbanger for the EPMD album. Down Bottom, which consisted of Juvenile, Young One. That was a big hit in the South, from what I've heard. I don't remember it being a big single in in New York, but it was a single. They have a video for that. And what y'all want with Eve, you know, or what y'all niggas want, you know, stuff like that. It's a dope album. Must have your collection. If you're a fan of Rough Ryders, must have. I'll admit, when this album first came out, or the whole Rough Ryders, I wasn't a big Rough Ryders fan. But over the years, you know, it kind of grew on me, you know what I mean? Probably like a year later, it grew on me. Then I copied Volume 2, which I did have in my collection, but I no longer have it, you know what I mean? But anyways, that's his album, must have in your collection. If you're a fan of early Rough Ryders, before they started doing this bell and whistle bullshit, you know what I mean? It's Rough Ryders, Volume 1, must have in your collection, released in 1999. Third album is Craig Mack's Project Funk the World. For those who don't know who Craig Mack is, he's an MC from Brentwood, Long Island, which is same hood from EPMD, which is in Suffolk County. For all my Long Island, for people that don't know about Long Island, it's part of Suffolk County in Long Island. And ironically, Craig Mack was well, he got his start back in the late '80s. He was known as MC Easy, and then you know, he was also EPMD's roadie back in his early career and stuff like that. And then fast forward to 1994, he got signed to Bad Boy Records. Singles his album was known for Flavor in Your Ear. Flavor in Your Ear, and also the remix, which really broke him out, you know, which was his breakthrough single and his breakthrough song, because that's the song that he's known for. Get Down and Making Moves with Puff. The Get Down song, dope song, and also the Q-Tip remix of Get Down. Oh my god, it's such a dope song. Unfortunately, this album is actually out of print. Little trivia with this album. With Craig Mack, actually, he's the first artist on Bad Boy Records to go platinum, just based on the strength of, not with the album, but with Flavor in Your Ear. You know what I mean? That's what made him, you know, that's like one of Bad Boy's biggest, highest selling singles, and he was the first artist to go platinum. But you know, unfortunately, this was the only album he came out with for Bad Boy Records. And then in 1997, he came out with an album called Operation Get Down. It didn't do well. You know, he tried going for the more commercial sound, because I guess he saw Puffy, you know, with the whole Bad Boy syndrome, you know, started doing the filler tracks and stuff like that. Craig Mack tried doing that. It didn't work, so, and it failed, and both albums are actually out of print. But if you could find this, definitely cop, you know. With this album, you know, it's a typical, I mean, I don't say typical, but you know, he doesn't follow the trends of Bad Boys. It's not your typical Bad Boy Records album. You know, he taught, you know, the whole lyricism, he takes it from, you know, with the metaphors, jazz samples and stuff like that. M.O.P does a lot of the beats on the album. Definitely a must-have in your collection. If you're a fan of early to mid-90s hip-hop like I am, must have in your collection. Craig Mack, Project Funk the World, released in 1994. Go copy it. Then you got Tupac's third album, Me Against the World, released in 1995. This, to me, in my opinion, is his best album. This album, this is more of a dark. I think, to me, in my opinion, this is his darkest album. He really went personal with the album. You know, the album deals with like paranoia. talks about his mom's family life, you know, stuff like that. He really went in with this album. Very dope production on this album. Tupac went a lot through this album, especially around 1994, 1995. Because this album was it was recorded in 94 and released in 95. You guys should know that Tupac was shot in a year prior, like in 94. You know, which he blamed you know, Biggie with that with the shooting, even though Biggie had nothing to do with it, with the shooting and stuff like that, and that's what caused the album, the beef between you know, Tupac and Biggie, the whole East Coast, West Coast. And also in 95, there was he went to jail for 11 months due to the fact some girl claimed that he raped her or some shit like that, you know what I mean? So if you notice in some of the songs, most of the singles for this album, like the videos, he's not in any of the videos due to the fact that, like, you'll hear him rapping, but you won't see Tupac. Like, you'll see like imposters of Tupac, like you know, like imposters of Tupac, just to fill in the void, you know, just due to the fact that he wasn't there. So, you know, throughout the whole 1995, you know, he was in jail, so that's why he wasn't on any of these videos. And when he got out of jail, he got signed to Death Row Records. And so although he was part of Death Row Records, but he didn't release it off Death Row, thank God. He released it off M.O.P Records, Tupac's record label. Singles this album was known for is Me Against the World, Temptations, So Many Tears, what else? Yeah, Dear Mama, So Many Tears, Temptations, and I believe that's it, in my opinion. Temptations is actually one of my favorite Tupac songs of all time. I definitely a must-have if you're a fan of Tupac or a fan of mid-90s hip-hop. It does have what's cool about this album has more of an East Coast feel to it and a West Coast feel to it. But it's geared more to the East Coast side of things. Definitely a must-have in your collection. Tupac, Me Against the World, released in 1985, must-have in your collection. Then we have Busta Rhymes' second album, When Disaster Strikes, released in 1997. Again, Busta Rhymes continuing the tradition of his post-apocalyptic theme to the songs, to the album. I mean, singles this album was known for is Put Your Hands With It, Where My Eyes Can See Them, and Dangerous, and also Turn It Up, also known as Fire It Up. But this album contains the original version, which is Turn It Up, which uses an Al Green sample. But for the people that know about Fire It Up, uses the theme song from David Hasselhoff's song, the theme song for Knight Rider. You guys should know about that. And they also have videos for that too as well. Definitely a dope album. Definitely a great album. If you're a fan of Busta Rhymes, definitely. This one, this album, he started using more, like I said, in like, it seemed like in 97, 98, a lot of East Coast artists was using a lot of top 40 samples, like, you know, from the 80s and stuff like that, and the 80s as well, you know. So the sonically, it still sounded the same, but it's not as jazzy as the Coming album. You know, this uses, like I said, more top 40 samples, top 40, you know, from the 80s and 70s, things of that nature. But definitely a must-have in your collection. And this is Busta Rhymes in his prime era, you know, before he sold out, in my opinion. I don't care what nobody says. This is when Busta Rhymes still was making dope albums. Must-have in your collection. When Disaster Strike, released in 1997. Must-have. Then we got Ghostface Killah's first album, Iron Man. This is a must-have in your collection for every Wu head, every hip hop head. You know, you guys should know Ghostface from Wu-Tang. Released in '96. Singles his album is known for are Daytona 500, Motherless Child, and that song with Mary J. Blige. What's the name of that song? All That I Got Is You. This is actually the 2001 reissue edition, and the reason why I say that is because the OG copy of the first presence of Iron Man had the song Soul Controller, but that song was taken out in the second pressing due to the fact of sample clearance issues. You know, I think with the Sam Cooke sample on that song Soul Controller, so they took it out. So they took it out in the second reissue, which sucks because that's actually a dope song. That song you can go on YouTube and check it out, Soul Controller. But anyways, this is a must-have in your collection. It's a classic album, in my opinion, very underrated. A lot of people tend to like Ghostface Killah's Supreme Clientele album, which is a dope album. That album I don't have in my collection, but I did hear it. That album took me a while to really get used to, but I really liked it. It was a very dope album. It's just based on the strength of that song Shit Like Ghost, which I can't stand to this day. But overall, it grew on me. But at the time, I didn't like it because, you know, it was like I said, you know, this is when Ghostface kind of crossed over, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's still a dope song, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound corny as I thought it did before, but definitely, this album is a must-have in your collection. Definitely must-have. Next album is like one of my favorite albums, one of my all-time favorite albums of all time is Gang Starr's Hard to Earn, released in 1994. This is their fourth album. This album right here, definitely one of my favorite, is my favorite gangster. To me, the best album. You know, Hard to Earn. You know, this album pretty much started using more stripped down beats. It was less melodic, using less. I mean, they still use jazz samples, but they were using, the beats were more darker than the first couple of albums and stuff like that. Because the first three albums were more jazzy. This one's like more stripped down jazz. You know what I mean? Just more stripped down. It's more street. It's more rugged. You know what I mean? Singles this album was known for Suckers Need Bodyguards. Do It, which is their biggest single off the album. Code of the Streets, and I believe that's it. And Mass Appeal, which was taking shots to people who were crossing over pretty much. And that's why that beat has that strange sample. It's a dope song, but the beat, the sample, like, it's a hot beat. I like the beat, but they made that song Mass Appeal and that sample because of that sample. You know, it had like a it sounded like a toy beat or whatever. It's like poking fun of people crossing over to the mainstream. So that's why they use that sample. And you know, they talk about it, you know, it's pretty much paying homage to EPMD's crossover. That's how I see it, anyways. But definitely a dope album. My favorite album from them. Must have a collection. Next album is M.O.P's Warriorz album, released in 2000. This is their fourth album, and this is actually their breakthrough album. Due to the fact, you know, for the song Andy Up, which is like the biggest single in their whole discography, and Cold as Ice was also a single too. They both have videos too, and G Building, which was also a single, but that was more of an underground single. Definitely a must-have in your collection. Love this album. definitely a must-have in your collection. My favorite M.O.P albums are the first 4 albums. Definitely a must-have in your collection. M.O.P, not much to say to them. I feel like they're very underrated, in my opinion. They still bring it to this day. They actually released a new album called Sparta, which is a collab album with Snow Goons. All my underground heads should know about Snow Goons. I don't have that in my collection. I definitely will buy that album. I don't know when, but I definitely will buy it, and I'll definitely do a review on that album. It's a must-have in collection. M.O.P Warriorz. This album actually broke them through to the world because their first 3 albums were dope, but you know they were still underground. A lot of people didn't really know them out of the New York region, or I should say the tri-state area. So this album actually broke them out to the mainstream and put them on to the world. Warriorz 2000, must have. Then we got Wu-Tang's first album, Enter the 36 Chambers, or Enter the Wu-Tang, must have a collection. This is RZA in his prime, in my opinion, when he was using grimy beats. He was on that dirty basement shit. You know what I mean? Very stripped down soul samples, dirty to its fullest. By this time, you know, RZA, for all my producers, you know, RZA was using the Ensign EPS16 Plus, which I do use on my beat videos, you guys should know. And he also uses the ASR 10 as well. So, because those samplers, you know, they're known for like making your samples sound dirty. And then he used those samplers to his advantage. And at that time, like, you know, he didn't really have access to like a lot of state-of-the-art studio sound equipment. So hence why the sounds of the album is really dirty and shit like that, you know what I mean? And I'm glad it came out that way because it's what made this album such a classic, you know what I mean? Definitely a must-have in collection. Singles this album was known for Cream, Method Man, METHOD Man, Can It Be Also Simple, and I want to say Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with, even though that and The Mystery of Chess Boxing also were also singles as well, and of course Protect Your Neck. Definitely a must-have in collection for every Wu head, every hip hop head. Definitely, if you like grimy beats, dirty basement beats, look no further. This is the album, must-have in collection. Next album is Wu-Tang's Iron Flag. My opinion, besides 8 Diagrams,
this next joint I took from your man,
definitely
rest in peace, one of the
their
best
worst
ever
album
done.
in my opinion.
So many tears.
This album right here, they really crossed over in my opinion. They start going more for a more commercial sound. Terminology, using the Tupac sample, So Many Tears, off the Me Against the World album. But anyways, back to this album, they started going for more commercial sound, they crossed over. Singles this album was known for are, what's the singles? Give me 1 second. The biggest single out of this whole album is Pinky Ring, Uzi, Pinky Ring. Definitely, this album caused a lot of controversy too, because if you can see, Capadonna is not on the album. He was airbrushed off the album due to the fact that Capadonna's manager was a police informant, you know, trying to track into the criminal activities of Wu-Tang, and which caused them to kick out Capadonna off the group, and then they caused friction and stuff like that. So that's why you don't see Capadonna on the album covers and stuff like that. But he's still with them, you know, things like that. Definitely, I was very disappointed with this album, especially because I'm a fan of Wu-Tang, but this album sucks. Same thing with 8 Diagrams. I didn't really like this album. It really wasn't that good. Could have been better. Like I said, the first 3 Wu albums are my favorites. This album, no go. Unless you're a Wu head, I definitely wouldn't pick this up. You have to be a Wu-Tang fanatic to like really appreciate this album. This Wu-Tang Iron Flies released in 2001. Then you got Raekwon's first album, Only Built for Cuban Linx. What more can I say about this album? Definitely a classic album, must have for every hip hop head. Even all my Wu heads should already have this album. I had this album way before, cause you know now everybody's on Raekwon's dick, you know, just based on the fact that he came out with part 2 of this album. But I've always been a Raekwon fan. I've always had this album. I had this album since 2000. You know what I mean? So I've always been on the Only Built for Cuban Linx bandwagon. I guess you could say it. You know what I mean? But definitely a must-have in collection. Singles this album was known for is Heaven and Hell, which was his first single off this album. This song Heaven and Hell also appeared on Fresh's the soundtrack to Fresh, which is another dope hood movie, which was released in 1994. Definitely a must-have in your collection if you don't have that movie. Ice Cream, Criminology, Criminology, Incarcerated Scarfaces, and Rainy Days, and Glaciers of Ice. Those are all the singles of the album. Definitely a must-have in your collection. All have videos, by the way, except for Rainy Days. This is Only Built for Cuban Linx, Raekwon, must have in your collection. Released in 1995. Then we have this album, Busta Rhymes, Extinction Level Event, released in 1998. This is his 3rd album. Singles this album is known for is
That shit was banging right there.
Give Me Some More, which uses the Cycle sample, and What's It Gonna Be with Janet Jackson, which was a big single by that time. This is a dope album cover. This album cover is inspired from what I read when I looked on research. It was It was supposed to be an asteroid destroying New York City, hitting New York City. Dope album cover. Definitely inspired by Deep Impact, because around 1998, Deep Impact was released, and Armageddon as well. Those were like one of 1990's highest gross selling movies at that time. You know what I mean? And 1998, like, was, you know, like I said, a lot of people was really into the end of the world conspiracy theories and shit like that, you know what I mean? But definitely a dope album. Like I said, Busta Rhymes in his prime, you know, at the time, you know, things like that. And what's cool about this album is that what this album was definitely known for too is the song that he did with Mystical called Is They Wild With Us and Get Him Ready With Us. This is the first time you see Busta Rhymes rapping fast, you know what I mean? So what he's known for now, when he's rapping fast, this is the first time in this album he's done that, because before he didn't really do that, you know what I mean? So you actually see that, you know, for the first time in that song that I mentioned with Mystical. So definitely a must-have in your collection. This is Extinction Level Event, released in 1998. And actually, it's funny too, because I met Busta Rhymes around this time too. I was 11 at the time. I was actually, a cool story, I was at a field trip with my friend, in my class, and we went to the city, went to the Museum of Natural History in Manhattan and stuff like that, and then like you know, was walking through the city and stuff like that. And you know how girls are when they see like their favorite artist, like, oh, Busta Rhymes, and then like you saw him coming out of some building, whatever, and then like you know, everybody crowded, you know, around him, you know, things like that, you know, he gave me dap, you know, things like that. We had a photographer with us. He took a picture of Busta Rhymes and stuff like that, and you know, I had the picture. I wish I could show it to you, but I lost it. Like you know, it got lost